At ConsuLab, we're passionate about automotive technology and how it works and how it's taught. And I think really what we're best at is targeting areas where teaching and learning is difficult and trying to find these intuitive solutions to speed up the learning process and also to help teachers evaluate student competencies. Electric vehicles fall into this area of technology where help is needed. I think it was best that we team up with real experts from all EV to help guide us with regards to what's really happening in industry, what's happening on the shop floor with regards to EV issues, and understand EV training that has to go on. So EV is a clear direction that we have to take. It's not going to be all of our products, but it is such an important technology change that's going on right now that we have to help you guys, the instructors, with regards to teaching it safely, efficiently, and making sure that the techs coming out of your institutions really have the abilities necessary to be able to work in industry.
The idea of EVs, whether an instructor or an individual likes it or not, it is being developed at a fast pace. Each instructor has to decide if he or she is going to embrace that technology and pass it on to their students, or do they reject it? I don't think rejecting it is an option. I think you have to start presenting the ideas and concepts of EVs to your students and get them prepared as much as you can for employment involvement in the industry, which is going to be huge. Depending on your resources and the facilities in your shop, you can do it a little bit or you can do a lot of it. Certainly there's a ton of information on the internet about EVs. You can just gather all of the things you want, videos, but at one point or another, you should start involving your students with the instruction and technology that EVs represent.
I think in the old day, when, let's say in my old day, when I grew up, there was a certain adrenaline that came with power, driving a car that had power. Nowadays, the electric vehicles have kind of put to shame some of the old internal combustion engines. I don't think young people have the passion that is instilled in me from growing up with muscle cars, so to speak. And so everything is electric with them. And I think when they see it harnessed into a car and in transportation, and the amount of just adrenaline that you can feel from being driven by pure electricity, that interests them probably more actually than some of us older guys, because we do have the legacy of liking horsepower and a noise. So driving them to an EV car is probably going to be easier, or an interest in EV cars is probably going to be a lot easier than we think, because they kind of live in that realm. They were grown up, they grew up in that era, and it's talking to them more than it probably does us.
There's no real simple answer to where should you start or what should you be teaching in EV, because a lot of it is based on what level you're at. For instance, at the high school level, I think it would be very, very valuable to start students out and make sure that they understand the difference between a hybrid, a plug-in hybrid, and a full EV, and start with that. And maybe, depending on the number of hours you have, that may be as far as you go. Now, as we get into a community college or a trade center, well, then we have to look at more. And one of the places that I think really is we don't do enough is in the area of communication. So the communication within the vehicle, or CAN bus, for lack of a better word, can be taught, and it is probably the only thing that transposes or goes between a gas-powered vehicle and an electric vehicle. So if you teach CAN bus and you teach it on an EV, or you teach it on a gas-powered vehicle, it's going to be basically the same thing. So I think that's the best place to start. Basics, basics, basics.
No, incorporating EV instruction into your classroom is not too early. It's almost too late. You are teaching electrical basics with Ohm's law and many other trainers for student understanding. So it's just a continuation of your electrical programs as they have been running. So it's not too early.
I think the ability to demonstrate what is actually going on within the system by having the LEDs demonstrate coolant flow, electrical flow, the different types of current flow, where do we have DC current, where do we have AC current, and the way it can be a pure demonstration of how the EV actually works.
Why is this product based off of a Tesla? You know, there's a real wow factor there. And I think it draws everyone in. It draws the students in with regards to learning and their desire to be working on this technology that is viewed as being at the forefront with Tesla. It's also a tremendous showcase for all of the institutions to use with regards to recruiting and showing parents the technology that the schools are using in their training. All right, well, let's move into the lab. We'll have a look at our very first EV dedicated product that we're so anxious to show you.
Have you ever wondered how to give your students hands-on exploration of a complete electrical vehicle in a safe environment? This was our guiding thought in developing this new EV-601 electrical vehicle trainer. All major components are identified in their actual location. Most have been exposed in a way that is not possible on an operating vehicle. This helps attain a better understanding of their internal components and workings. Electrical and thermal energy are managed and displayed throughout the vehicle according to the various real-life scenarios that can be created on the main interface screen. Additionally, voltmeters and ammeters are located at several key components to illustrate the impact of each scenario on the electrical system. To maximize safety, there is no DC high voltage present on this trainer. Paths of electrical energy and coolant are identified with LED strips, which also indicate flow direction. For example, during a charge, electricity flows from the charge port to the battery. The type of electricity, AC or DC, is indicated by the LED strip animation, and the meters present at the charging port show voltage and amperage depending on the charge level selected on screen. Another example is the case where the HV battery is too cold. The drive motor and inverter create heat, which is transferred to the battery through the coolant circuits. If during this time the first responder loop is interrupted, all high voltage is immediately removed from the vehicle and isolated inside the battery, leaving only 12 volt DC present in the vehicle. Connection points of some high voltage components have been made readily accessible to allow real-life high voltage resistance testing to be performed, following the recommended procedures and use of required safety equipment. Since this vehicle has no emissions, a scan tool cannot be used on it. However, we have integrated an OBD2 port to which we can connect and view various vehicle data with the Scan My Tesla application. Overall, this trainer provides a safe, total approach learning experience to electrical vehicles and their related safety procedures, instruments, and equipment.
The goal we had in mind for this product was to tear away all the complexity of an electric vehicle and let the students and teachers touch, feel, and see the guts of it. Students can see and interact with every single high voltage component. And they can see that it's not that complicated and establish their confidence in working on electric vehicles. The product allows teachers to demonstrate system functions in modes that are unattainable with just a car. We can show a road test, regenerative braking, and acceleration, all while being able to access and view the flow of power in the system. Show your students what each charge mode, each drive mode, and each thermal management system can do, all in an accessible and safe way. We can remove and replace the battery, do isolation testing, and show all the 12-volt systems are fully functional. The product has a certain draw and magnetism to it. No matter who walks by and sees it, they want to know more, they want to learn more, and they want to spend time looking at and interacting with the product. With each step, they can see more and comprehend more. We go into great detail in providing access and demonstrating the functions of all the components in the penthouse, the contactors, the battery management system, and the DC-DC converter. It's all right there out in the open. We're convinced that your current and future students will be enamored with and learn so much from this training. And while the product is based on a Tesla Model 3 platform, the concepts are generic in nature, and the knowledge gained can be transferred to other platforms. If I was a teacher developing an EV program, I would want this product front and center, and we would all be around it with all the students on the very first day of class.
I'm really proud of all the work that our team has put in towards this really intuitive solution for learning EVs. I hope you've gotten a real feel for how it's going to engage your students and help your program, and we look forward to showing you more in the future. Thank you for being with us.
All right, so we're here in the ConsuLab Engineering Lab. I'm Nathan Banky, I'm here with Dave Giles. We've also got our colleague Jimmy, and we've got the EV-601 IDEV training car, and we're ready to answer your questions. So Jimmy, let's see what questions our viewers have got.
Sure. Can you talk a little about what that touchscreen does and explain a little further, and if there are faults, and if not, why there are no faults?
So I'll talk a little bit about the touchscreen, and then I'll hand it off to you, Dave.
That sounds good.
So what we've done is using a whole bunch of technology and a touchscreen that we've added to the car, we can create driving situations. So we can go for a road test, we can create different scenarios. We can do things like show how the car reacts to charging, to a hot battery, to a cold battery, to requesting cabin cooling, cabin heating. So we really have a lot of different criteria we can do with that and then demonstrate how the car reacts. So you can talk about that for a little bit of faults.
Sure. Yeah. So one beauty of the 601 trainer is that it demonstrates all the functions of an electric vehicle. Putting faults into it at this point, the whole point of the car is to show the safety fundamentals, the components, how they work, the layout. One of the reasons we use a Tesla is because they lay it out throughout the entire vehicle. So I can see the cooling system, the thermal management systems, the HVAC system, I can see battery, I can see the controllers, the charging, the motor, and it's laid out in a way that the students can walk around, look at the car, see how it works, as Nathan mentioned, the full operation, and be completely safe. So you can teach lots of the fundamentals, lots of safety, lots of the functions of the car right in a shop environment.
And without having a fault box, one of the things that we can do, many things that we can do, we can walk right up to it and we can cut the first responder loop and see how it reacts. We can change all these criteria and insert faults in that manner and see how the car reacts. So without having a fault box per se, we can do tons of fault exploration.
Yes.
So another question somebody had, it was said that there's no high voltage present on the trainer. Can the drive motor move?
So the question is, it was said that there's no high voltage present on the trainer. Can the drive motor move? A couple of things here. There is no high voltage present on the trainer. We have done that for safety reasons, and yet we still are able to demonstrate all of the different systems, all of the different functions. We can still test for insulation leaks with the high voltage cables. We can still do all those demonstrations. For the drive motor, what we've done is we've essentially disabled it internally. So I know, Dave, you've done this before where you push a Tesla, not push it down the hill, but you've pushed it pretty fast and you can get some dangerous
30,
voltage.
35. Yeah, you get some voltage out of it, yes.
So what we've done is inside the motor, when we did at the cutaway, we've disabled that. So if you push the car, because this will move around, you turn off the park brake and push the car around your shop, you will not be generating any dangerous voltage that could hurt someone. All right, Jimmy, do you have any more questions?
Sure. Yeah, does the Model 3 used have a heat pump HVAC system involved in heat management?
It does. However, we have chosen to use the model that does not have the heat pump for supply chain and availability issues. So the EV-601 is built off of the Tesla Model 3 without the heat pump. Now, good news, we do have a new product coming pretty soon for teaching heat pumps, for teaching the thermodynamics of electric vehicles.
Somebody would like to know a little bit more about the scan tool option, a little more in depth, how that works.
Sure. So this vehicle has provisions to hook up a scan tool dedicated to the vehicle. The nice thing about the scan tool, it will simulate the battery module, battery cells, capacity of the battery. It'll do into the body control system. It actually interfaces with the CAN bus of the vehicle. So traditionally, you can still plug your scan tool into it with a 16-pin connector that ConsuLab has added to the vehicle. This way, it still gives interaction with the students and doing different tests or different functions of the vehicle through a scan tool.
Absolutely.
Can you talk about what kind of curriculum will be available?
Great, that's a great question. So one thing we want to do is use the vehicle not just as the vehicle in a shop environment, but to be able to put curriculum and training around safety and the components I talked about, but having curriculum that gives the students tasks. So they can go to the vehicle, they can look at different things. This touch screen on the other side will give them functionality. The worksheets will relate to the functionality of that. So if you're talking about something with the high voltage compressor, with the cooling system, with the battery temperature, that can be simulated. They'll have worksheets to show the reaction with those types of things. So lots of functions with this vehicle, especially with the worksheets, as well as the vehicle itself can be used for other uses as well too. For doing different things with steering, suspension, braking. All that is still original on this vehicle.
There's another aspect I'll add to that, Dave, is all of the components that we're teaching for the electric vehicle platform have identifications with numbers. So there are worksheets already for identifying all of the components, establishing how those components function, how they interact, and then you can use the touchscreen to demonstrate those different modes and identify the components.
There are a couple questions regarding the scan tool. Is that an available option with this trainer? And also, would you recommend any other shop tools as mates to this trainer?
So a couple things here. We're not providing the scan tool with the product. What we've done with the EV-601 is we've installed an OBD2 connector. Okay, it is up to each school and customer to supply their own scan tool. There are many good ones out there. Most of them use a dongle connector that you would connect either to your phone or your tablet. And some of them are Scan My Teslas, I think one of your favorites, and there's a couple other ones out there. So we're not saying that you must buy that or use that one, but there are many of them that are available, so we're not providing it, but they're all available to use with the EV-601 training car. For the other tools, I'm just looking over on the bench near Jimmy, we've got our insulation tester, gloves, and other tools that we suggest you can purchase and use with this. So, do you have other suggestions for testing?
Well, the other thing is too, like even jacking some of these cars and stuff like that require, procedures and stuff like that. So it becomes a regular car still in your classroom, in the shop environment to do that kind of work. And like Nathan mentioned, like, your meters, your insulation tester, your Megger, all those tools are still functional. We still have the air conditioning system on the vehicle. It is not a functional air conditioning system, but it still shows hookup and so on, part of that, by part of the 601 trainer.
Yeah.
Can a laptop with the Tesla software still be connected and used?
So right now, yes, you can plug this laptop into the vehicle, but you got to remember the vehicle is designed as a fundamental vehicle for training, so you'll be able to access the Tesla system still active on the vehicle as regular Tesla, as the Tesla scanner requires.
Can you tell, I saw in the video a little bit about the infotainment system. Does that actually work, and does the OEM display screen function as well?
So the infotainment system works as in the car, just like a brand new car. The second part to your question, Jimmy, I did not hear clearly. I'll just continue with the infotainment system because I'm not sure the second part to Jimmy's question there. But so the infotainment system, I mean, I like to always play around with this. You show me all kinds of cool things to do with the Tesla OEM infotainment. You can put on the fireplace, you can put on the buggy game, you can put it in the fart mode, Santa Claus. All of those fun things that you can do normally on the car, you could still do here. And again, the power steering works. All of the 12-volt systems work as they normally would on the vehicle.
Yeah, and to add to that, the vehicle still retains its original MCU.
Yep.
It still has its original screens and stuff like that. So there is still, but what we've done is another thing is there's an overlay that goes on the screen, so students can't actually go in and start changing things beyond that, or they can't go and just start playing the games. It'll be instructor protected on this vehicle as well too.
Yeah.
As well as the vehicle can actually still enter into service mode. So some of you that are familiar with the Tesla, you know what service mode is. You can enter into that to once again demonstrate the different functions of service mode.
Yeah. Service mode, tow mode.
Yeah.
A lot of, well, all of the 12-volt functions work. And a lot of the things that you can normally be teaching with a regular Tesla, you can do with this. Just going to see if we have any more questions from Jimmy there.
Does the OEM display screen function?
Absolutely. So
Yeah.
the question is, does the OEM display screen function? Yes. So you get in this car. So if you're used to working on a Tesla or driving a Tesla, you take your key, you unlock the door, you get in the car, everything's the same, except for none of the high voltage systems are up and running. So the car, you can't put it in drive because it's going to say it's got no battery. Battery's not connected, there's no danger. But all of the 12-volt systems are fully functional and react exactly as they would with the regular car.
There were another question was, are the airbags still live?
Excellent question, thank you for that. So the question is, are the airbags still live? I can tell you, there are no airbags, there are no inflators in the car. We've disassembled all of them. You can't tell because we've done an excellent job in removing all of those and it looks perfect. But all of the inflators have been removed from the vehicle, so there is no inherent danger.
Got another question here. Was, as far as the brake being complete, is there a need in the curriculum about the brake system, such as how a mix of regen plus friction brakes is achieved?
You've got that in some of your curriculum
yeah, so
materials
totally.
already.
So we talk about the regen system, how it works, how it functions, the IMPRM type motors, you know, the permanent magnet motors, how they generate electricity. But going back to the regular vehicle, the vehicle still retains all its original braking system, as most electric vehicles have conventional brakes on it. So we go through in the curriculum, talk about the maintenance requirements of the vehicle, the different types of, especially with alignments and things like that, that all retains. And yes, that is definitely in the curriculum. We talk about maintenance on electric vehicles. And we have to remember, this is a 601 EV trainer, but it's in a Tesla platform. But what we're doing here is we're showing all electric vehicles. So whether is this a Tesla, but yes, if you have a Bolt, a Kona, Ioniq, and all these, it still applies to all those vehicles, which is really cool with using a Tesla as that main platform for all of them. Because the Tesla has all that stuff in it. So where some manufacturers might not have as easy access to some of these components, where the Tesla does. So that's why we're using the Tesla as the the EV-601 trainer.
Platform, yeah. And like you said, Dave, all of the hydraulic fundamental brakes are there. And park brake, electric park brake, the hydraulic circuits, everything can be taught and serviced as it would be on the car.
There's another question. Does the curriculum dive into BMS type of EV batteries and balancing batteries?
Absolutely. So the question, and this is going to be definitely a question for Dave, does the curriculum go into the battery management system, the BMS, the configuration and type of batteries, so series, parallel, the lithium cell types and everything? And I'll let you go through it.
Yeah, I want to get into it. So yeah, even the construction of a battery, they have to do the calculation of the battery, the amp hours of the battery, the level of the battery that it's at now. They have to actually do a calculation to remaining capacity, the kilowatt hours of the battery, like all that's covered in the curriculum, which is really cool because it allows you as an instructor to teach about it, but then actually go out and demonstrate it on this vehicle.
And there's one really cool thing that we can do on, well, there's many cool things that we can do on this car, on this training car, that we can't do on car. So once your students have learned the configuration of the battery, what the nominal voltages are, how they're constructed, we can show things on here. We can change the battery state of charge and then apply different modes. So we can have a battery that's fully charged, but it's too hot, or a battery that's fully charged that is too cold, or it's at a nice temperature, or we can do that with the state of charge, the battery temperature. Then we can also do things like charge the battery. We can put in a level 1, level 2, or a DC fast charge. Again, this is all that added layer of ConsuLab magic that we've added to this. So once your students have learned all of that foundation of how the battery is configured, then you can really see it and see the voltages and how it reacts to those different kind of case studies.
So here's an important question. Is this product available now?
Absolutely. So the question is the product available now? Yes. The product is available right now. We have one right here. It's ready to go to the first customer in line. It'll be up on our website, I think at 12 o'clock midnight or tomorrow. So tomorrow morning you go on, it'll be on the homepage of our website. It's already in our catalog. It's ready to go, and we are building them now. So this is available for your school.
Can you explain how you would move it in and out of a classroom?
Yes, two things. I know you've done this a lot.
Yeah.
We've got it, so it rolls on its normal wheels. So the car is there, you turn off the park brake, have someone hop in the driver's seat, the power steering works when it's powered up, so you can not drive, but you can be sitting there and be pushed around. For a lot of schools, they already have little wheel dollies like we have here. You may have seen them in some of the videos, but with the wheel dollies, you can just essentially move the car back and forth. Of course, we got it all locked together, but you can very easily, one or two guys can push the car in and out and around your lab very easily.
And one of the things that they've added as a feature, which is really cool, they put these bars on the front, like rebars themselves, and they're on the front and back of the vehicle, so you can actually push against them to move the car around.
Yeah.
The car isn't as heavy as a traditional Tesla, in this case, the Model 3, so it moves very, very easily. Low resistant tires with low resistant bearings, and that with the wheel hubs makes it very easy to push around. Even up little inclines, if you have to push up on a ramp hoist to do alignment on this vehicle for training and whatnot, it's no problem at all.
Is there any part of the HVAC housing still present and visible, and is anything about it highlighted using the LED light strips?
So the question is there anything around the high voltage battery pack present and highlighted and available? So we have an entire section, what's called commonly called the penthouse, which includes the DC-DC converter, the battery management system, all the contactors, the battery charger, and all of that and all those connections is all visible, accessible, and also lit up with different flow strips showing the flow of energy, whether it's DC, AC, or the coolant flow, all through that area. It is all accessible. You can also remove the battery case from the car with your students, pull it out, look at the BMS, put it back in. So that is all there and accessible.
What systems can be serviced with this?
What systems? That's a long list. The question is, what systems can be serviced with this from on the vehicle? So,
where do you want to start?
Yeah.
So traditionally, it's still the car. So as I mentioned earlier, you can do tires. So in the classroom, if you're not doing an EV course, but you want to integrate the electric vehicle in part of that, the fundamentals of tire rotation, tire swapping, removing, installing, and balancing tires, brake caliper servicing, suspension servicing. If you're doing strut changes. I mentioned about air conditioning. You can go into even cooling. You can do a cooling system check. You can go through the vehicle as a regular vehicle. Now, on the electric vehicle side, there is certain things that can be done, as we mentioned about the scan tool, the battery management system, doing a battery health check. You can do a battery level with the vehicle. It has a simulator there for it. So there's lots of different things. And that's what's so important about the worksheets and so on that go with the vehicle, that they actually will guide through all the aspects of the vehicle, including the basic systems on the vehicle. So even though the braking system isn't unique to the calipers and that, it's still part of the curriculum on this vehicle.
Absolutely.
Hey, somebody wants to know, even though we can't move the camera, can you demonstrate one of the mode of operation of the LED?
Yes. So the question is, and I'm going to go off screen here for a moment, Dave. I'll tell you what's going on. So the question is, can we demonstrate one of the modes of operation? So I'll just pick some modes of operation. Dave, if you want to talk about it a little bit, I'll try to pick one. So right now the car is off. We're unplugged from a charger. The battery is at normal temperature, 100%. If I just put on my DC fast charge and I put the battery at hot, you can see a whole bunch of things happen here under the hood. So the coolant pumps have engaged, What else has happened with the air
So
conditioning?
the air conditioning compressor's turned on. We have a chiller there to demonstrate the coolant going through the chiller, going through the radiators. You'll see the lights are showing path of the coolant flow. We also have the DC high voltage. You can't see in the back there, but on the back cable going from the charger down into the battery pack. The contactors on the DCFC on the back have now turned on. The two contactors on the battery, positive, negative, are turned on the battery. The battery charge controller in the very back has turned on. So by Nathan there turning on one function shows a whole bunch of scenarios going on with the vehicle. And the best thing about this is that it comes just as our viewers are watching, what happens when, and that's what students will ask. And the beauty of this trainer is they allow us to do that. So what happens when the battery is really hot? Or I had one of my friends say that when they plugged their car in, that it charged or wasn't charging. You know, what's happening there? And you can actually demonstrate that, and they can show what's going on. The battery's too hot, or you know, there's a problem with the control on the air conditioning system. So these are really things. They're not faults in the vehicle. They're just showing scenarios with the vehicle.
And what's really, really interesting is that these are scenarios that we have chosen, real life scenarios that you'd have working on EVs, but that you can't duplicate in a classroom. You can't take a car in a classroom and plug it into a DC fast charger and have the battery too hot. You can't do it. But now we can do it with the EV-601. So that's just one example mode. And what another cool feature of this mode is we're doing all of this, and if we show that to the students, the driver is not even in the car. The car is locked, and someone has just plugged a charger into it. So we can show how much the car is on and all the features and functions of what happens with an EV, even when there's nobody in the car, there's no key present. So we can do all of that using the our operation simulator. So good. Jimmy, you have some more questions?
Sure. Will the scenarios set OEM DTCs?
No. So the question is, will the scenario set OEM DTCs? All of those features and functions, so all of these voltmeters, ammeters, flow demonstrators down the coolant pipes, the high voltage wires, the low voltage wires, all of those added features do not talk to the Tesla car itself. That's all the stuff that ConsuLab has added on top of it. That's all controlled through that touchscreen on the side. It does not interact with the vehicle. And in any case, we wouldn't be able to do those things with the vehicle, and there aren't really that many DTCs that you're going to get out of that in any case.
That's right. And and the reason is because if you had something that could interface with the vehicle, it could wind up turning things on and so on. We want to keep it safe at the same time, but still demonstrate the proper function without interfering with another system on the vehicle.
Are charge cords provided real Tesla EVSEs that require 240 EV access to simulate charging beyond level 1?
So the question is, are there charge cords supplied with the product? No, we've actually blocked off. It's still visible and still accessible to see and talk about it, but you cannot plug a charger into this car because there is no battery to charge. Okay, so we can still talk about it, we can still demonstrate it, but we're not going to plug the car in to a wall outlet.
Can this trainer show students the codes level how to do some functionality?
Sorry, Jim, the question is, can the trainer show
students codes and how to do some of that functionality?
Codes. So can the trainer show some codes? Again, working on a Tesla, it's not like working on a combustion-powered car where you plug in a scan tool and you've got a DTC P0335 crankshaft circuit failure. You're working through the service mode, you're working with a Tesla laptop, but we haven't designed the product to do that type of service on the vehicle. So we're not going through the OEM platform and doing diagnostic procedures from the Tesla standpoint. We could do that on the low voltage stuff, and that would be accessible and functional, but we're not doing that on the high voltage side because for this product, we wanted to have no high voltage present and keep it safe.
Yeah, and it goes back to the same thing. It's a what if, like what happens when. Yeah. So, like, you know, by showing what we can do with the vehicle, you can go like see what's happening here. The AC compressor is not turning on. We have low coolant level. There's no coolant flow through the radiator. You know, the contactors on the back aren't turned on. Why? Why is that happening? And that's really a big part of what students will be asking, as well as people want to know about, especially with electric vehicle.
What power source is needed for this trainer?
So that's a great question. The question is, what power source is needed for this trainer? It plugs into a regular wall outlet, 120 volts. It does have the 12-volt battery, and we have a set of contactors that interrupt everything. So you can just plug this into a regular wall outlet, and we have enough power coming out of the power supply to keep all of the systems up and running.
And it also has a master switch on it. So at the end of the day, you can turn the vehicle off at the master switch and the entire vehicle shuts down.
Yeah, and there'll be no parasitic drain, which again you would normally have on any modern vehicle. There's no parasitic drain to kill the battery. So once you kill the main switch, you could put this thing off and leave it for a month, come back, turn it back on, it'll be ready to go.
Can the trainer be used to teach body electrical?
Absolutely. So the question is, can the trainer be used for teaching body electrical? Absolutely. In fact, that is the Tesla OEM function that is 100% intact. So whether it's wipers, power windows, power door locks,
Calibrations of the windows and so on, yeah, that's all still functional.
Absolutely.
I believe we have answered all the questions. If I have one, maybe if you just tell them about, you already mentioned a few of the products coming, maybe a couple of the other EV products coming, and then if they would like any more information on this, they should involve ConsuLab rep.
So the last question is from Jimmy, is what other EV products do we have coming? We have some of them in the lab here that we're working on off camera. Some new things in the Skunk Works for teaching the thermodynamic systems. So for the refrigerant and glycol coolant circuits, for teaching how that works on whether it's an electric, a plug-in, a hybrid, or even a hydrogen-powered car. We're developing a product for teaching that. We have another one for teaching high-voltage interlock circuits. So to talk about all the safety aspects and going through the disconnect procedures and testing everything in the high-voltage circuits. So those are just two of them. And we've got a whole bunch more prototypes in the back shed that we're going to be pulling out here pretty soon. So it's going to be an exciting time for ConsuLab EV products.
Somebody asked about if glass was present on that vehicle.
Glass? So glass. You want to go over the glass that's present and that isn't?
So the glass that we've removed out of the vehicle is the two roof glass, the front windshield. The side windows still are fully functional, operational. That's where we get into that body stuff about talking about calibration. It's really cool. Tesla does some really neat things, especially with the glass and the windows and operation with it. So that can still be demonstrated with the vehicle. Still has a CAN bus system in the vehicle, so you still have that. The lighting system still functions on the vehicle, so there's still lots of things that are with it, but we removed the glass of the vehicle because it gives a lot easier access to inside the vehicle. Students can look inside, you have more people around the vehicle without being hindered. With the glass, a lot of the roof glass on these cars, it was a big decision to take it off because people say, well, can't we just put it outside? But the glass is so tinted on these cars that it's very difficult to see through, where now I can easily see from this side to the other side without any interference on the visuals of what this car demonstrates.
There's excellent visibility for larger groups, so you can demonstrate to more students at the same time with the setup that we've got.
Somebody asked if the 12-volt battery charged by the 120-volt watch.
Yes, absolutely. That's the whole setup that we have. Is we have a 120-volt plug with a large power supply that manages the battery charging for the low-voltage battery. So the 12-volt lead-acid battery of the car is present and being charged at all times that it's plugged in.
Somebody asked, are there any ADAS features covered in this training?
Absolutely. So the question is, are there any ADAS features? Now, we'll go a little bit into it. We have all of the ADAS components present. If you look to Dave's left, we have the cameras. How many cameras are there on this car?
9 cameras on the car.
9 cameras. Does this one have radar?
Yeah, it has the radar unit in the front. It still has radar unit, as well as it has cameras on the fenders, 3 cameras on the front glass, cameras on the pillars, back camera, and still retains the inside camera for the passenger. So essentially puts 9 cameras on this car.
So those are all still present. All the ADAS sensors are still present. We're still exploring the different ways that we can use that. So the answer right now is we'll see, but we have all the components there. We're exploring the different ways that we can use that in the curriculum and demonstrate that for you and for your students.
And then, of course, we have the EV-360 as a companion. What other companion trainers would you offer with this?
So companion trainers to go with this, we do have the ADAS trainer EV-360. That is an excellent complement to this because it teaches the forward-facing camera, object detection, radar, blind spots, ultrasonic sensors. All of those can be taught on the EV-360. Again, we're approaching electric vehicles. We're trying to bring it about the entire program. So it touches from the fundamentals, right from Ohm's law, electromagnetism, right up through lighting systems, CAN bus. All of these products work excellently in teaching electric vehicles. So those are all products that we would love to see customers using for teaching electric vehicles.
You mentioned how easy it was to move around, but what's the dimensions of it when it fit through a classroom door?
So the dimensions of it, I haven't measured it. It's the same size as a Tesla Model 3, which I don't know the dimensions of. It won't fit through a regular door. You got to put it in a lab. You could put it on a hoist. You could put it on an alignment rack, but it takes up the same footprint as a car.
And there are no over-the-air updates required for this, obviously?
So for the ConsuLab portion of it, there are no over-the-air updates required. The touchscreen just boots on its own. It's got one page. It just activates and controls all of that extra layer of ConsuLab magic. The Tesla over-the-air updates can be available. The antenna is there. Can be connected or disconnected depending on the configuration and what you're trying to do.
Yeah.
Can you explain, without going into full detail, the extensive nature of the curriculum that comes with this training?
So it goes right from the basics of the fundamentals of an electric vehicle, safety. There's even some safety certification in it, so the students can do a safety check, whether it's an isolation check, a power down, and so on. Then it goes into, like we said before, it goes into the body itself, the mechanics of the vehicle, the different components themselves, like how does the HVAC system work on the vehicle? How does the electric motor work? What is an induction motor? What is a permanent magnet motor? The power flow, how does what we call a pre-charged circuit, how does that work? What do contactors do? So the curriculum is very, very involved and will come with the instructor guide. It'll have its student guide and the worksheets as well.
Excellent. I think we are done with the questions. If you guys we just want to wrap it up.
All right. Well, thank you guys. Thank you to everyone who has joined us today. For this live launch. We're very excited for this EV-601 IDEV training car. We're excited to show it to you today, to have it on the website. Please contact your ConsuLab reps, check it out online, and tell us what you think.
Yeah, and thank you very much. It's an exciting product. It's one that's been in the works for a while, and a lot of research and a lot of time has gone into this and a lot of thought. And definitely, it's definitely an asset, especially in teaching automotive technology in the schools, modern automotive technology in the schools.
We think it'll be an excellent complement to your classroom. Thanks for watching.